Smile, Meet, Chat, join for networking.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Brian Morrison. I run a company called Biz Social Enterprises. I'm here speaking to you today. It's actually about my life story. Okay, as you can tell from my accent, I'm from Bonnie, Scotland, the best place in the UK. But I was brought up in Scotland until I was about 18 years of age. I lived in various children's homes between the ages of 7, 8 years old until I was 16 years of age. Now I'm going to tell you a bit about what went on in that 8 years and then go on and tell you about what went on after the children's home and how my life moved forward in some negative and some positive ways and how I got to where I am today. Okay, so I'm hopefully going to do that or I will do that in 18 minutes. Yep, I was brought up in Scotland. I was moved around various children's homes, and the reason why they moved me around various children's homes was because I tried to get to run away, to go back and to see my grandparents. I would run away to go and visit my mum. And the reason why I was taken out of the house was because one day I went home from school and there were some people in our house and they were taking my mother into a mental health unit and were taking me into care. So I was taken away and to be honest, usually you'd hear the story of somebody getting taken into care and they would be upset, they'd be wanting their mum. I was the opposite. My mother wasn't well, there was things going on in the house that wasn't normal, but I didn't know that. I was a child, okay? So when I went into the children's homes, it was like having other kids around me, having friends, and I loved it, okay? But then they started saying all the other kids in the homes would have their mum and dad coming to visit, and the other kids were always saying to me, well, where's your dad? And they were asking this question, and I remembered that when I was at home, whenever I asked that question, I got hit. I was never allowed to ask that question. If I did, it was hit with a walking stick. So that's what happened in the house, and I always blamed it on my mother's mental health. So in the children's homes, I was like, okay, how do I find out? Can I ask that question in the children's home? So I did. I asked the question, and they tried to find out for me until I was 16. Nobody could find out. My mother completely closed down. I had never met a cousin until I was well into my teens. I didn't know any aunts, uncles, nothing. Didn't know any of my family. Definitely didn't know who my dad was until well on, which I'll explain later. So when I was 13, 14 years of age and I was in the last children's home that I was in, I started realising that there was things that didn't seem right. But I was a child and I wasn't sure what wasn't right and what was wrong. And what I'm trying to say is I was being abused, okay? I was being sexually abused by a member of staff in the children's home. But I was a child. I didn't know it was right or wrong. I was told if I said anything that it'd be worse, okay? I would never get to see my parents, my mum again. So I just kept quiet. And what I started doing was I seen the older kids all being happy and I wanted to know why they were always happy. So I started hanging around with the older kids and I started going to the park with them and they were all drinking, okay? And I thought, right, that's why they're happy. As soon as I got a drink of alcohol, it blocked out what was going on in the children's home, okay? I then very quickly, within a couple of months, realised that if I could get a hold of that stuff more regular, when I was being abused, if I drank that, it would block it out for me, okay? So when I was in the park with the older kids, I would be drinking with them, and I'm the little innocent little young one in the corner. I'd be stealing alcohol and hiding it in the bushes, getting back at night time. Funny thing about it now is that they'd all be fighting between them who stole the bloody alcohol. I'm the little kid in the corner. So I'd go back late at night after being abused and drink that alcohol to block it out and then go back to the children's home. That went on for a long time. And then there was somebody in the community. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into names or anything. There was somebody in the community who started abusing me as well. Okay? I was being sexually abused in the community as a child. So it was happening outside the children's home and it was happening in the children's home. So by then, I was completely confused. I couldn't go to anybody in the children's home and tell them it was happening outside because it was happening in there as well. And I couldn't go outside and tell this group of people that something was going on in the children's home because it was also happening there. So I drank more, and that's all I did. I just knew how to drink. And in the children's home, nobody ever said to me, "What's that you're smelling of? Alcohol." It was completely fine. Nowadays, if you're in a children's home, they'd be questioning you what you're doing drinking. Got to the point that a week before my 16th birthday, they decided that they were sending me back to the family home. Hadn't lived with my mum in all these years, about 7, 8 years, and they were sending me back. Long story short, my mum, while she was in the hospital, had met someone, fallen in love with this guy, and they were now living together. I didn't know they'd been living together for actually a couple of years, that she wasn't in hospital. They just decided to leave me in the children's home and they would go on with their life and be happy. But she was then told she had to bear up and be a parent and take her son back. The reason being that if you turned 16 in Scotland then, and you were in care, they had to look after you to get 21. They'd try and get rid of you. They sent me back to that house not knowing what's going on. All I'll say is that week of my last week to my 16th birthday in that house was the worst, was hell, okay? I didn't live with my mum for 8 years, I didn't know this person, and it was a week of hell. I woke up on my 16th birthday with a bag and an envelope getting thrown at me, and I was told to leave, okay? I wasn't welcome in that house, and nobody wanted me. And again, because I was in care, I didn't know where to go. I had no aunts, no uncles, no cousins, no dad, as I kept on mentioning before, and I didn't know where to turn. So what did I do? I remember back then that you used to hear, for the older ones in the room, you used to hear a lot of people saying the streets are paved with gold in London. So I've had this £50, it's a lot of money, and I thought, right, I need to get to London. And I think it was only £6 or something to get to London. I went to the coach station, and because I was that young little kid looking, they wouldn't let me in the coach. And I thought, well, I've nowhere to go, what do I do? Slept in the streets overnight on it was the day before my 16th, I think it was. And then I ended up managing to go to a little town outside Glasgow, and I got a coach by making out I was with a family that were all going on this coach. And I slipped in, had my ticket, and I slipped in with them. Got to London, and I slept in the streets. So I brought in my 16th birthday in the streets of London, slept in alleyways with prostitutes, drug addicts, alcoholics, the lot. I loved it. Again, there was people like me. I could get access to all that drink. Everybody around me were all drinking, and I could get it to block out what was going on in the past. The thing was, I might have been on the streets, but I was away from both lots of abuse, okay? I didn't care that I was on the streets. I wasn't being abused anymore. Next minute, I then realised that there was things not right again. And I always put it down to people saying that my mum had mental health problems. So I thought, I've got mental health problems. That's why I'm losing my memory. I started losing my memory, had no idea why. And it got to the point that I would get a newspaper. I'd look in a newspaper and it would be a different month. A few years went by, and I think that the worst I ever got was that it was a different year. And then I realised there was something severely wrong. Nobody ever said anything to me, so I thought it was me. So I wasn't going to say to anybody, my mum's got mental health problems, so I'm crazy. So I just ignored it, that didn't remember anything. It went on. I then decided that I thought, right, how can I get some kind of relationship with my mum to find out about my father? That's all I wanted to know, was to find out about where my dad was. And I thought, if I can get my mum to love me, to open up to me, she might tell me, and I don't care what happens after that. So I said, how can I get to help her to do that? So I decided, okay, she's got mental health problems. What can I do to get in there? Okay, I'll become a psychiatric nurse. Maybe I can get into her head to get some information out. I went away, did my psychiatric nurse training. I got over 3/4 of the way through it, and everybody realised there was a problem with drink. I was still drinking every day, trying to block it out with mints, and it didn't work. It didn't work, of course. So I decided, the hospital said to me, you have to go away and get your life sorted. You can't continue here doing your training. What did I do? All I knew was how to go back onto the streets. I went back to London and I went on the streets and was homeless. And that's the way it went on. I just kept going around, travelling around the UK. I would come out of another blackout. When I say a blackout, it's like waking up and you're in a place that you don't know how you got there. Like a lot of people will say when they go out drinking, I don't remember what happened last night, but this is like 10 times worse. You don't know actually how you got to this town and you're in a different town. I would wake up in different cities, different places. I would be in a nightclub and I'd say, where am I? And I would actually be in a nightclub, maybe in Newcastle, but the last I remember was I was in Buckinghamshire. The worst thing that ever happened to me around memory loss, through the alcohol again, but I didn't know it was alcohol at the time, was where I was in a house. I came out of a blackout. It was like coming out of a dream, and there was a big room full of people all having a laugh and all drinking. I'm sitting there drinking away, and I didn't know anybody in the room. I turned to the person next to me and I went, excuse me, this is going to sound crazy to you, but where am I and who are all you? The long story short was that the person I was speaking to was a partner of mine for a few years. To this day, I still do not remember meeting that person, okay? We were in a relationship for a few years. The house that I was in was my house, okay? I had a car outside. I had a driving license. I would love to meet that person in networking, okay? And I did check that it was a valid legal driving license. So I was in this house and I was living a life like a normal person, but in blackout with no memory. Again, I blamed it on mental health because of my mum. I moved away from there, and I remember being on the motorway driving and didn't know where I was going, and then I went away again, complete memory loss. And next minute, I woke up in a bed and breakfast, walked downstairs in this hotel, and I went, excuse me, to the guy in it, where am I? It ended up, it was 2 years later, okay? I don't know what happened in these 2 years. And I said, where am I? I was in Blackpool. Instead of going and trying to get help, still nobody mentioned the word alcohol to me. I just thought I was crazy. I saw the bright lights, cheap drink. Wow, I loved it. And I just in Blackpool, and that was it, nightlife. But very soon after that, I started to realise that there was a lot more than just mental health. I started to become ill. I started to lose a lot of weight. I couldn't eat, I couldn't swallow. I then was begging on the streets. I had a house with this partner still, but I was out on the streets begging to try and get enough money to buy a litre of vodka for the evening so that I didn't get the shakes to go through that night until the next day. It got to the point at the end of all this that it was round about 2004, just going up to 2005, when I started to wake up again, coming out of blackouts in police cells, mental health wards, A&E, and people were trying to help me. And when I woke up in police cells, I thought I'd done something wrong. They were saying, no, we're just getting you off the street because you're a danger to yourself. You're falling all over the roads. You've got a bottle in your pocket. So it got to March 2005, and I woke up in intensive care. I was on wires, and they told me that I'd died, and they brought me back. And they then said to me, how much do you drink? First time it was mentioned, and I went, well, this is how much. Again, since I was a kid, I drank. I didn't know what was right and what was wrong, how much was right and wrong. So they said to me that I was drinking like 20 times too much. I shouldn't have been drinking. And I went, well, what do you mean everyone drinks? They went, yeah, but not what you're drinking. So they did some tests, and they said, unfortunately, you've got some results here that for somebody like you, normally a 50-year-old alcoholic's got. You're 34, coming up to 35, and we're only going to give you 6 to 12 months to live. I broke down and I went, what do you mean to live? And I then found out that alcohol had almost killed me. I said I wanted help, and they said they will try and help me. On the 30th of June 2005, I got a phone call, and they said, can you be ready within an hour? And I said, what? I said, okay, wait, I need to go to the shop for a drink. They goes, well, you'll not have it for long because we're taking it off you. And I went, what? You can't take the drink off me. So they picked me up, and I ended up that day, the 30th of June 2005, being taken down the motorway to a place not far from here in Eccles, and I was taken into this treatment centre. I was in there 21 days, and after 21 days I walked out of there, and that, if I was terrified before, that was worse, because since being a kid at 14, I was now 35. The first day that I'd walked out on the street without a drink since I was a little kid. I didn't know how to bath, I didn't know how to wash clothes, cook, nothing. No memory of anything. Homelessness in the streets, so I didn't know anything to do. I went back to an address, I was given a bit of paper, and I soon found out that I was still in that relationship. Okay? I was in that relationship, I found out 17 years. And it wasn't a very good relationship at all. While I was in treatment centre, I found marks on my body, stab marks, marks where a bottle had been put into my back, my legs were all stabbed through a lot of domestic abuse. I realised that relationship wasn't right, but again, because I'd never lived on my own, how could I live? How could I go out there and actually move into a bedsit and live alone? I was a little kid. I was drinking all my life. I'm 35, and I'm now having to learn how to do everything. So thanks to an organisation called Alcoholics Anonymous, I went in there to get support, and the people in this organisation supported me in getting out of that relationship. And when I was 1 year sober, everybody helped me, and I moved into my flat, and I walked out of that after 17 years. I thought it was bad before. That's when it really got bad, because I had to then look and concentrate on how I was going to live. Terrifying, but I did it. And the thing is, after 3-4 years of slowly doing it a day at a time, I actually got to 2 years, 3 years sober. It built up until I was 8 years sober, and I thought I was on the track of being doing good and never needing a drink again. And this is a quick message to say to anybody out there that's struggling: don't always think you're okay, because my mother was killed in a house fire when I was in 2011, and I almost took a drink. The message is that always on the back of your head, remember that you can't drink again, and that was my message to people. I managed to get over that when my mother had been killed in the fire, and I then started to build a life for myself. And I now, just 3 weeks ago, I got in 12 years sobriety. No drink, not even a drink. And a lot of people say to me, you must have a drink at Christmas or on your birthday. No. For anybody out there that doesn't know, before I finish, anybody out there that's got a problem with drink, the one message I always say to them is, if anybody's got a problem, don't stop. And they wonder, what? Don't stop. If you're addicted to alcohol and you stop, you'll take seizures and end up in intensive care in a life support machine like I did you need to get medical help and you need to be withdrawn off it. So my message is, like, anybody can change. I run my own business now. I'm now 12 years sober and life's amazing. Thank you.
Smile, be chat, join for networking.